Hey y'all, what's up? I am here now for your second LMMS tutorial. Sorry. All right, so in this tutorial, I'm going to introduce the concept of inversions, and then I am going to open a project we'd saved earlier. So remember those 4 chords. I'm going to show you how to duplicate a channel, and then I'm going to show you how to invert our chords. So what I'm doing first is I'm going to open up our spellbook. All right. And I'm going to scroll down to page 19. So 19 is the beginning of our chapter on chords. So it doesn't hurt. I definitely suggest, if you haven't gone over this, I went over it in class, but if you missed it or if you want to read it again, this does a pretty good description of explaining why it's important to use inversions. So in other words, like how inversions can really help with organizing your chords in such a way that it's not that distracting, and also explains what inversions are. So in this first example, we have this chord progression. It's A minor, F major, C major, G major. So in the key of A minor, this is lowercase 1, uppercase 6, uppercase 3, uppercase 7. And one of the things you might notice is that as we move, and I'll zoom in a little bit to make this a little clearer, as we move between the different chords, there's a lot of movement between the tops and bottoms. So the top note here and the top note in this chord, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 jump. And between the bottom note here and the bottom note in this chord, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 half step jump. What's even more huge is the jump between this note and this one. That's 4 and then 5, 6, 7, 8, I think. Wait, let me count. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 half steps. So we don't want to have that much movement because that much movement is really distracting, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this F, that's an F note, right? And I'm going to move it up an octave. So it's an F up here. So if you look here, we're still the same note. It's still an A, a C, and an F, just like we had here. Except now the F is moved further up. It's still the same chord. It's just moved around a little bit. So it's still going to have the same feeling to it. It's just not moving as far. Like if you were playing this, your fingers wouldn't have to move as far to play it. And so that does a really good job of making that movement feel less distracting. Similarly, we're taking this G and we're moving that down here. And so now it creates this chord structure. So whereas before we had these jumps of between 4 and 7 half steps, now we're just moving up 1 half step and then 1 half step back down. And then here our jump is 2 half steps. So ideally, if a chord is optimally, and by that I mean like most efficiently inverted, you're going to have this situation where you're not going to have any notes between the different chords moving any more than 1 or 2 half steps, maybe 3 in some cases. So that's the theory behind how inversions work. Now let's put it into our project. So in my example, I'm going to open up, and that was the first thing I said we're going to do after teaching you inversions, that 1, 5, 6, 4 chord project. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and you can see as I'm zooming in, that thing's moving up. So what I want to do first, I'm going to take this channel and see this gear. I clicked on this gear. I'm going to go to clone this track. Okay. And the reason for that, I'm going to actually rename this one original chords. And I'm going to rename this one inversions. Now, see this little green light? What that tells me is the sound is on. So I'm actually going to mute my original track by unclicking that green light. See, unmuted, muted, unmuted, muted. Now I'm just getting this. Man, it's so catchy. You can do so much with that. All right. So now I've double clicked on the pattern here. and I can see my piano roll again. Now it's time to invert. So the first thing I'm seeing is all three of these chords seem to be way above my first C major chord. So I'm going to take this note here, and I'm going to move it up to here. Boom. Well, that made a big difference. This is still a jump of 3 half steps. So I'm going to take this E and move it up here. And now it just goes down by 2 half steps, and these ones are perfectly even. All right, that's 2 half steps, that's 2 half steps, that looks solid. The only one that still looks like a big jump is the top to here and the bottom to here. So I'm going to try and bring this one up. This is at F. You can see when I'm holding it, it lights up here. So I'm going to bring it up to the next F up above. And that's fantastic. So we just have a half step jump here. That's the only jump in that whole chord, which is awesome. And then if I look between this one and here, we go down a half step on the top, and then just down 2 half steps between the end and the beginning when it loops back again at the end. So let's listen to it now inverted. So catchy, and it's a little bit less distracting. So that is my inversions. So that's what we came here for. So once you've completed that, you're gonna go to Save As, and let's make it a new project name. So it's not just the chords anymore. So I'm gonna save this project as Inversions, and then you're gonna find that project file. If you don't know where you saved it, by the way, just look in this spot up above, and it should tell you where you saved it. And then you can submit the project file, and I'll be able to open it and check out what you did. Cool? All right, well, that's the end of today's lesson, and I will see you next time.